Hi there, welcome back to another Crypto Dave video. It's Monday, which means another DeFi market update. Today is the 17th of August 2026, so let's jump straight in and see what's been happening over the last week. In terms of major asset prices, Bitcoin, Ethereum and Solana all down a little bit over the last 7 days. Bitcoin down a couple of thousand from, I think we were around 65 and a half last week, so down a little bit. Ethereum and Solana obviously following that trend as well. Solana particularly had a pretty good week last week. It was up about 5%, and it's giving back most of those kind of gains now. In terms of the market narrative, Bitcoin remains very much range bound, very low volatility, very low volumes. Those of us who have LP positions will have noticed over the last, I think particularly the last week or two, that returns have been kind of dropping off, fees and stuff like that have been kind of dropping off a little bit as trading volume basically kind of decreases. So we're range bound on Bitcoin between that sort of 60 to 66,000 range, and I think we're probably going to bounce sideways, as I've mentioned in other videos, probably for the rest of this month and probably most of next month before having another move potentially to the downside. Ethereum's been showing relative weakness compared to kind of Bitcoin. It had a reasonable kind of like little kind of pump a few weeks ago, but it's given back basically all of that. Same thing seems to be happening with Solana as well. The total market cap is holding around 2.25 trillion, so no big outflows or anything like that, but volume's very, very muted. And all eyes are on the Jackson Hole this week. So the Fed Chair, Warsh, is speaking on Friday. The symposium starts actually today, but he'll be speaking on Friday. So a lot of people just waiting to see what forward guidance, if any, he kind of gives, or any indications about potential rate hikes or indeed rate cuts by the end of the year. And the markets have priced in, it's roughly 50-50. I think it's 45% chance when I checked Polymarket this morning of at least one rate hike by the end of the year. In terms of DeFi specific, total value locked 71.9, that's down a fraction, but essentially kind of flat week on week. The year-to-date change remains the same, down around 37% from the January highs. And Ethereum dominance 53, so down 0.1%, but nothing kind of dramatic. But it does seem to be a very, very slow downward kind of trend of Ethereum dominance, as I think maybe people are looking at some other chains that are maybe slightly more undervalued than Ethereum, some L2s and stuff like Solana and things like that as well. The top protocols by a total value locked remain exactly the same. So we've got Lido Finance for liquid staking, Aave as the borrowing and lending platform, Sky for stablecoin infrastructure, Uniswap the largest DEX, and Morpho, a borrowing and lending competitor up to Aave, but still hasn't quite broken that 5 billion mark. In terms of the headlines, Aave's had like a spike in kind of wallets one day last week, adding 1,800 new wallets. Seems bizarre. I don't know if this is just a reporting kind of issue, and whether that didn't happen or whether it's an influx of new users. Didn't seem to be reflected in total value looked or anything like that, but interesting to see when there is an influx of a wallet into a platform as to whether some revenue follows those kind of like wallets, or whether it's just kind of people kind of changing kind of wallets, kind of like moving stuff around. As I mentioned before, the Jackson Hole Symposium kicks off today. Grayscale's DeFi fund rebalancing has been continuing. Aave up to almost 20% now, Uniswap 34%, and Ondo Finance 25%. That's the largest holdings in Grayscale's DeFi fund. Aave's buyback plans have been progressing. There are concrete plans now for up to 50 million annually in treasury repurchases. We've mentioned that in the last kind of couple of weeks, but it just seems to be a little bit more fleshed out than before. That's it for this week. As I said, fairly quiet week within kind of DeFi and crypto as a whole. We are trending sideways, and there's very little kind of happening essentially. So I anticipate that continuing for the next month, 6 weeks, something like that, before we see the next move either up or down, I think potentially to the downside. Thanks very much for watching. As always, if you have any comments, please post in the comments below. Always nice to hear from you. Somebody posted on one of my other, on the Snuggle5 video, I will be doing a video with my initial kind of results over the first kind of month or so. I'll be putting that out in the next few days. So thanks for everybody who's commented. Thanks for everybody who's given me a thumbs up or anything like that. As I said, hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you on the next video. But until then, have a great day. Bye-bye.